Okay, look at me putting out content. I talked in my last video about my frustration with people misunderstanding and misconstruing an image of the modern Arab world. I say Arab world for lack of a better term, like Middle East, the Levant, Arab countries. In one comment, someone was expressing to me how deep-seated that Arab prejudice and that ignorance was that made it harder to think of people here as existing in the same modern world as they did, and allows people who know nothing about our world to make all of these judgments about it. So I'm gonna clear up a little bit of confusion and unsurety that you might have about the Arab world. I'm going to do this by comparing the city of New York, where I live, to the city of Amman, where I live when I come here. Now, note that I am talking about Jordan, specifically, Amman, Jordan. My experience in Jordan is not going to be the same experience as in Lebanon or Saudi, etc. The Arab world is not one giant homogenized group of people. That being said, there's a lot of basic cultural patterns and Arab mannerisms that definitely can be applied to many places. Jordan does not equal every other Arab country, and this is just my experience, and let's have a little chat. Sorry if you get confused during this vlog by my switch of locations. I just had some extra thoughts I wanted to add in between the thoughts I had in Amman. Dress. New York, anything goes. In Amman, the culture is more conservative, but it's also relatively modern. You do not have to wear hijab, which is the headscarf. The headscarf is a personal choice. Many people have asked me if my family makes me wear it or if society makes me wear it while I'm there. No. Not in Jordan. I do not wear hijab here, I do not wear hijab in Jordan. For me, as a person who does not wear hijab, I just basically need to wear pants, and pretty much whatever I want on the top depending on the place that I'm going to. Like if I'm going to a party or a fancy dinner, if I'm gonna just be in someone's house, then I can dress a lot less conservatively. But if I'm going to the Balad, which is downtown, or in a place where I'm gonna be around a lot of people I don't know, it's just in my favor to just dress a little more conservatively, because that's how everyone else is dressing. This is just something to respect about the culture. Mannerisms. In New York, I find that people are really cold and unfriendly and rude to strangers. There's really no obligation to be kind to a stranger or kind to a person that you don't have to be kind to. But here, there's definitely a huge difference in the way that strangers treat each other here. There's just an understanding and a respect that kind of just comes with any interaction. The word I'd use to describe people's mannerisms with each other is just very brotherly. People are just generally very helpful. I find that they're just very open. I'm more likely to go to a store and ask someone for help in Amman than I am in the US. People just are more willing to have conversations. The pace of conversations is just much more slow. People are much more willing to just talk to you and to talk to people that they don't know. Literally greeting people and saying goodbye to people always come with phrases wishing peace upon the other person, and it feels nice. It just feels really nice. Social life. New York, I don't need to explain to you what social party life is like. In Amman, you see families with little kids out until 12 or 1 a.m., especially during Ramadan, but sometimes not even during Ramadan. There'll just be groups of people sitting in a cafe for hours with their shisha and their shai, and they're just hanging out. There's also just not much of a drinking culture here. It's not like you can't drink. Most cafes and places, especially if it's Arabic food, just don't serve alcohol. It's a dominantly Muslim population and many people choose not to drink for religious reasons. But there are also plenty of practicing Muslims who drink. Yes, there are bars. Yes, you can go out drinking. It's just not as big of a thing. Family. In New York, people become very independent of their families and they're very much encouraged to branch out and go out on their own. Here, people live with their parents for a long time, until they get married even. It's not considered weird at all to move back in with your parents after college, even if you go to college outside of the country. It's totally normal and most people do that. The family unit is extremely, extremely important, and people live in these complexes with grandma here, her daughter here, and then her other daughter here. It's very common for families to just all live together. And to add to that, there's no nursing homes. Here, when someone becomes too old to be able to live by themselves and live independently, they'll go and they'll live with their children, and their children will take care of them. Or if people are not wanting to leave their homes, they'll hire nurses who will come and take care of them so that they're able to maintain some sort of independence. It just culturally would be considered really disrespectful to get rid of your parents when they get older, instead of keeping them with you and taking care of them. Public transport. In New York, you have the taxi, you have the subway, you have Uber, you have Lyft, you have so many services. Here, taxis and hiring your driver. It's a car city. The traffic, especially in the summer, is just so much. It is what it is. Space. In New York, people live in tiny apartments and, you know, New York pretty spread up. As a city, it's not that spread out. In Amman, it is so spread out. It is a huge surface area of land, and Amman as a city has like rolling hills and mountains. You can be at the top of a mountain and see like rolling mountains covered in all of these white houses. I love the look of Amman as a city. Hired help. In New York, I know that like upper class people might have butlers and maids, but in general, it's not so much of a thing. In Amman, it's totally expected and normal for someone middle class and up to have hired help, to have a maid in the house who comes multiple times a week to clean, or even to have a live-in maid who not only keeps up the house but also takes care of the children and acts as a nanny as well. Many people have maids here, and kids grow up with their maids a lot of the time. Food, my favorite. I left it for last because it is my favorite part. In New York, you can get any type of food you want, right? Well, first of all, dinner is the biggest meal of the day in America. The big meal. It's the meal that you invite people over to. And when you're having meals with people, like especially at a restaurant, people will order, you know, you order your one plate. Here, on the other hand, lunch is the biggest meal of the day. Lunch is the time where you eat everything, and then dinner will be something like a little bit lighter. I wish I could try to do that in New York, but it's just not culturally like the way it is. So I always end up eating so much at night, but it's actually so much better to eat your big meal at 2 or 3 p.m. You have mezze, which is a lot of little dishes and bread, and everybody shares and takes from everything, and you get to create all of these little bites for yourself. It's the most fun way of eating, and I love it so much, and I'm gonna miss it so much when I leave, as I always do. It's very communal, and meals can go on for long periods of time. Also, just like Arab food in general is the best food of all time. I know that that's an opinion, but I'm gonna say it. Our food is so healthy and rich and so satisfying and feels so good on the body. I actually cook a lot of Arabic food at home, if you didn't know. If you'd like to see some of the Arab food that I have made, you can check out my Instagram. Shameless plug. Also, if you go to somebody's house, they will offer you food. Never go to somebody's house full. Food will be offered to you and you need to eat it. Please eat it. They probably spent a lot of time on it. Hospitality is an incredibly important part of our culture. Let's see, what else is different? There's obviously so many more points I could talk about here, but I wanted to try to keep this relatively concise, and I cut a lot out of the original vlog that I shot. I'm just discussing a few tangible examples just to break the ice a little bit. But I think this is a conversation we can have a lot more of. Son! I'm often asked, so which do you like better, Jordan or New York? What feels like a very rhetorical question. Obviously, I really don't have a straight answer to this. You know, I feel very lucky to be able to live and exist in both of these places and have connections to both of these cultures. Be able to have this complicated, shifting identity of half American, half Arab. And I also know that I'm very privileged to be able to come here regularly, yearly, and visit my family. It's a very, very special thing, and I know that. There's differences in culture everywhere you go, and you know, that's okay. It's what makes this world diverse. But at the same time, for instance, this doesn't mean that like Jordan is in some world other than your own. It's all one world, and believe it or not, people here are very, very connected to the outside. Very connected to what happens in the rest of the world, and very active. I've had some of the most interesting and deep political and world future related conversations with people here. I'm leaving in just a few days, and I'm like really sad about it, but I'm coming back in October. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one, which hopefully will be very, very soon.